All right, so to kick things off, on this horsemanship panel, we're going to talk about philosophy. We're going to talk about your own stories. I'm really interested to learn about how you developed as horse people. And I think our audience, we'll be fielding a lot of questions from our audience. And that's going to be really interesting as well. Karen, you're someone who probably needs no introduction, right? And your history is amazing, right? You've had this dressage background, and then you stumbled on natural horsemanship, and then somehow you bridged this divide. Tell us more.
Yeah, well, you said you wanted some more of the backstory, and I think that is an interesting thing. It's like, how did I get from one place to the other? And when I first did dressage, I was a kid. I was a teenager when I first started doing dressage, and the horse that I had ended up going very far. He was the one I was on the young riders team with. And then from him, I became a professional. But I gained skills and rode many more talented horses. But the progress that I made with my first horse when I was a kid was sort of unbelievable. And I realized that there was just something missing. And I thought it was just because that horse was so special. And it turns out, because, as you said, I stumbled across natural horsemanship when I had a Grand Prix horse that was starting to retire and have soundness issues. And I just wanted to do something like cute and fun with him. And through that process with that horse, that Grand Prix horse, I started to feel some of the magic that I felt with that horse that I had when I was a kid. He started to open up. He started to give me more than he ever had before. And I went, wait a minute.
Hang on.
This is a very long story short, but that's what really got my attention. And I realized that some of the things that I did with my first horse, because I was a kid, because I just went and hung out with him, because he was just my friend and my buddy, as well as something I was training, I realized that I had discounted that part of the process when I became a professional. Right. And I thought it was about technique. So it was that experience that told me, yes, technique matters. You've got to learn how to ride the things in Grand Prix, but the magic of the partnership, the two beings connecting in this amazing relationship, was what added the magic, the part where that horse gives you just a little bit more, or you just have those special communication between the two of you. And so I think natural horsemanship, whatever that means, got my attention because I didn't start it thinking it was anything important. I did it just for like some cute little fun stuff, and it still made an amazing change. So, I'm a little kid in love with horses, no matter how old I am. So that was the piece that just went, yes, let's put that part back in and do it on purpose and make that the new model of what it means to be, a top horseman and top professional. It's not just skills. It's all the little kid in love with horses stuff that is the really important piece.
Is the magic, right? Absolutely. Yeah. And I think we've all experienced that. And I wanted to sort of direct my attention towards Anna. Anna, you have such a unique background, right? You work with Mustangs. I've heard you speak. And one of my mentors and dear friends, the late Richard Lyon, used to speak very highly of you. And I always said, I must meet Anna. And I cannot believe I'm speaking to you directly from Singapore at 1 a.m.
You missed me in Singapore. I was there. I was on the last plane out of Singapore in March when COVID hit. And the pilot basically stated, we're the only airplane on the runway. We're the last airplane, and welcome home, and glad I can take you home. So I was in Singapore when all of the tragedies hit, basically. So I missed you. And if the doors had been open to the public, maybe I would have seen you there. Mm-hmm. You're right. My passion really, when I started the natural horsemanship, was opened up with the Mustangs. And I've been very, very fortunate. Let's go two ways with this. I've been very fortunate to work probably the most famous Mustangs of them all, including Shy Boy, Spirit. Not many people know that he's a real horse that DreamWorks actually took to create their movie, and then Excalibur, my own Mustang. But the love of Mustangs came in very, very early when I came to the United States, probably because they represent freedom, but also because they represent the individual, where they show the true language of the horse, the raw language of the horse. And it had me more and more intrigued, much like Karen, in the sense of my background started with dressage in Germany and very structured. And I grew up in Germany. And so everything's very, very structured. And structure for me was needed in order to grasp something, hear, see, feel it. And yet when you're with the Mustangs, there's little structure.
Sure.
You have to go away from the structure because they are pure, they are raw, they are wild. And anything that you think is okay suddenly becomes not okay because it goes into a different kind of feel. And the feel that we're then talking about would be feeling their intention, feeling their mood, feeling how they think about us, looking in that eye and not looking in the eye to dominate, but in fact see what we class as the whisper with horse whispering, but to see how they're feeling and their mood. And it's really, really cool because while feel can be described as that touch of how much pressure we apply on a rein or on a lead rope, the feel with a Mustang is to feel how much they can handle and feel what they're thinking and their next move and so on. And I found that anything to do with the Mustangs, you can bring to all of your horsemanship. It is a specialist field, but it doesn't mean it's excluded from anything else because it improves who you are. And you move into the personalities and the individualism instead of putting one horse in one peg and say, come to my methods, come to my routine. You have to be versatile to the extent of adapting to ultimately every personality that you can experience and every background you can experience. You've got to think a few seconds before a Mustang thinks to be effective. That's my passion, my love.
And I find that fascinating. I grew up in Saudi Arabia, so I had Arabian horses, and I felt like I had to think many steps ahead of them. And traditionally, the way I learned at a military stable, and these horses would just take off on you because Arabians had that reputation, and perhaps they didn't have that kind of know-how in the kingdom. And then I see Ingela Larsson doing a piaffe and passage, bareback and bridleless, and I think, this is very different. And eventually, I after learning from Ingela, I could apply that to another Arabian, Nasiq, who became for me, one of my best friends and a fantastic teacher. But I spent many, many months at Ingela's farm in England. And
lovely. She
opened a whole world to me. And whilst I was there, and this is the conversation I'm really looking forward to, and we'll pull you in as well because we talk about feel a lot. But Ingela, you and Karen go back a long way. What exactly happened there? I know you said you may not remember, but please try.
Please try. Well, maybe Karen will have to share that story. You go ahead, Karen.
Okay, so I had started to do some Pirelli. That was the natural horsemanship that I stumbled across. And then I came to, I was training in New York, that's where I lived. And I had started to do some Pirelli. And then I went to Florida for the winter season one winter. And I had made a connection with a Pirelli instructor named David Lichman, who's a mutual friend of Ingela's and mine. And it turns out that where I went in Florida was like 7 miles down the road from the Pirellis, just by coincidence. And David kept saying, oh, you got to go meet Pat and Linda. You got to go over there. And I was like, yeah, I don't have time. I've got all these horses in training. I'm doing my, dressage stuff. And so
serious.
David sent Ingela, because anybody who's been around Ingela, she's a very intense, strong energy person. She's 6 feet tall with these beautiful eyes. And Ingela's like, we're going to meet Linda. And I'm like, okay.
You can't say no to Ingela.
And so
I wasn't asking the question, Kaz. We were going, right?
Yeah.
I was so resistant. It was so funny. So I was so resistant. I just, thought I had all these things to do. So I went there and saw the place, and Ingela's like, we'll go. I want to introduce you. I'm like, no, that's okay. I got to get back. And she's like, no, we're going. And she took my hand and she just walked me up. And I'm so grateful for that. So it was David Litchman and Ingela conspiring to make sure that I got where I needed to be. And I'm so, so grateful because it kind of changed my whole life.
Sure.
So, yeah.
You and me both in so many ways.
Yeah.
It's really wonderful because, because of the level on dressage that Karen already had, when she started to apply the natural communication with her horse Monty, that was at that time, right, Karen? Monty?
Was it a Lusitano?
It was a Lusitano, yeah.
That's right.
And a Lusitano, yes. And it was just amazing and like so beautiful because he already was able to do a lot of the movements, of course, And then Karen eventually even did bareback and bridleless, and it was amazing. And you remember the year you did a demo, Karen? You did is it on river? I'm not sure, but it was bareback, and I think you just had a savvy string, and you did extended trot. And I just remember I was so impressed, and I was like, wow, I wish I could ride like that,
Well, what's interesting is Monty actually did not have any dressage training, really. He was given to me for $1 because he was supposedly crazy. And I got him because I wanted to try out this natural horsemanship stuff. I said, well, he's already messed up, if it doesn't work, and so that's, he was the perfect horse because he was so capable physically, but mentally he was a challenge. And he just, this philosophy and he just blossomed. And I went, all right, now I really have to pay attention because this is amazing. That horse was just the right horse at the right time. The universe conspired to say, come on, Karen, pay attention.
It's how a lot of our journeys start, right? With a horse that we go, okay, I can't reach him. I don't know how to communicate. Something is not working. Or even if it is working and we can train the horse up to high level, the connection is missing or the joy. And that's then the problem. You don't have a happy athlete, right? So, yeah.
So Anna, you talked about Spirit, the horse in the movie. And in a similar way with Mustangs, did you find that initially as well? Like, something's not working and there's this catharsis, something like Karen was saying about Monty. Did you experience that as well?
I think it was a slightly different road because the first piece of Mustang gentling that I was introduced to was more of a pressure release system and more of a tactic to say this is the style that all horsemanship is. We apply pressure and we release, and it's negative reinforcement and so on. And so that's a structure and that's scientific. And when I moved away from that, and I moved away into Mustang gentling and working for a Mustang sanctuary and gentled hundreds and hundreds of horses, ultimately, it moved more and more into a telepathic means and an energetic means to say, well, let's feel this space between us, which is energy, and let's feel the intention. And instead of looking at the fact that I'm going to praise an ear twitch or an ear or an eye on me, or I'm going to praise the head carriage and the neck carriage, could we look at what this horse perceives us to be? And instead of becoming, let's say a warrant officer or somebody else visiting a prisoner in a stall, could we make this a hotel room? Not depriving the horse of food and water to state, you're only going to get this when I'm a leader. And I've come away more and more from this leadership business and looking truly at how would I feel if I'm put in this position? And how would I feel if it's only about pressure release? But could we make it more about the individualism and enhancing and bringing out the full potential? So I didn't feel that I couldn't reach them as much as figuring out that their language expands from body language, and there's a telepathic component, there's an energetic component. And when we go that little bit deeper and deeper and deeper, there's more to it that we really need all of these gadgets? And could we take more and more gadgets off? Just like Karen and Ingela are saying, the gadgets came off, the the tools came away. And the same with the wild Mustangs. For me, it wasn't about the shoot. It wasn't about roping and choking. It was about removing all of these gadgets and all of these tools to say, here I am, 50-50. This is me. This is me. And just like Karen and Ingela, you know, this is me. I'm riding you. And riding was my childhood passion. But again, that's not my focus anymore. It's more fighting for the underdog and fighting for the underdog in rescue situations or high dressage situations. It doesn't matter. But to bring that voice to the animal to say there's no such thing as acting out for no reason. Sure. There's no such thing as a horse. By the time they're rearing, bucking, bolting, and so on, they're yelling and they're shouting, and the whisper will come in, our intention. And what's the horse's intention? So often we look at our intention, but the truth is, what's their intention? What are they thinking when they're looking at you? Are they going to make the step? Are they going to offer something? Are we missing that because we're so focused on what it is we need? And so for me, it's been about going more and more quiet, more and more silent, to be able to meet them where they are at. Instead of, I'm saying serving, instead of looking at what can you do for me today? What can I do for you today? How can I best support and serve you today?
That's really interesting you say that, because I think I read a lot about leadership in general, in organizational context as well, or entrepreneurial context. And so much of leadership now is about service leadership or servant leadership. There's this beautiful example that I think you guys will resonate, and I want to hear your thoughts about, where Nelson Mandela, in his book, The Long Walk to Freedom, talks about the fact that he grew up herding goats and cows. And to be a herder, you can't be at the front. You have to be at the back. And you have to let the herd go in the direction that it goes. And you just have to kind of remind them to kind of stay together, because that's safety, herd behavior. Tell me more about that. Maybe we can start with Ingela. That's just a point of view I'm putting forward.
Okay. Did you want to say you want me to say anything about how I got into natural horsemanship, or go straight to?
I want you to get into it. Ingela, this is this is your second, you've been here before.
Good, I go straight in.
So I would say quick brief about how you got in, because everybody knows you on the Cavago platform. Yeah. And then we'll talk about how you'd address this question.
Awesome. Quick way in. I was born with a passion for horses, even though I grew up in a skyscraper in a suburb of Bern, the capital of Switzerland, with no animals anywhere nearby. I was a total horse freak from the age of 2, with nobody else in my family being a horse lover. I really was born as a horse lover. And my journey was first into traditional horse riding, of course, and dressage, and then eventing became my passion. I love both dressage and eventing, and I bought myself a 4-year-old 7/8 thoroughbred sports horse called Hope from Ireland, who proved to be extremely challenging, to the degree where I had to have 2 people on chains leading me into the starting box at the intermediate level of eventing. That's not good. But she would win, or she would be second, and we would go like the clappers, like super fast. And I remember the day where, I was so happy, because I was totally performance-based. That's all I ever did was competition. And I remember the day, I love horses, of course, but I walked back after being second in her first ever intermediate event. This is in England. And I was so sad. I thought, okay, this has 0 meaning to me that I have just won this. It means nothing, because I don't have my horse's heart. I'm just riding it like it's a machine, and I put pressure on her if she won't do what I say. So that was my big turning point. I wanted my horse to be my friend. I wanted my horse to love me and actually want to be with me. So to address this question, Taz, regarding leadership, I've also been on a journey, because I started off my natural horsemanship journey in Pirelli, which is predominantly based on a dominant natural horsemanship system, which most of the systems today are based on dominance in the natural horsemanship world. And over the years, you know, I started to just learn more and more and more and discover more and more, and especially about the 3 types of horses in a herd: the lead, the dominant horse, and the passive horse. And for horses, each type is accepted and each type is okay. But us as people, we have to be the lead, and the lead is not a dominant. It's not a dominant type like the stallion would be. So why do we need to be the lead? It's because a human becomes passive or dominant only because of the wounding in their heart. You know, when we feel rejection, the horse leaves us at liberty and is running away, and we go inside, we feel a little bit of rejection or abandonment, and we go, oh, I'm just useless. I can't do it. You know, my horse just won't stay with me, for example. Then we have 2 options. We either become dominant and we force the horse to come back to us. It doesn't have to be physical. We can do that in our heart, put pressure. And we say, you get back here right now, or else, okay? Even though we might still be smiling. Or we become passive and say, okay, I'm just giving up. I can't do it. I'll go put the halter on and do something else. So I've discovered over my years working with people and horses that we become dominant or passive every time a wound or a lie in our hearts get touched, because we're actually created to be the leads. So how does a lead communicate? Well, first we need to know what a lead is responsible for. A lead is responsible for the care of the herd, the decision-making of the herd, the whole family of the herd, and the dominant stallion backs up that lead. So they're in a pair bond very often. I'm sure you see that too, Anna. So the lead is the one that sees the danger. That's why she's a little bit outside the herd, always watching, always alert, always aware. And the moment she sees a wild animal or something scary, she goes. She's not pushing the others. She says, follow me, because I have the solution, I have the best idea. I promise to keep you safe. I will make the best decision for all of you. And every horse in that herd follows. And if anybody doesn't, it's the stallion who is responsible for the herd structure to push them from behind. And ultimately defend, you know, the herd. He'll stay back, turn and face the danger and chase it off, while the mare takes the herd to safety. So I based what I'm teaching and learning all on the lead horse, and starting the communication with thought and energy only. Still phases, but the phase 1 would be thought, the phase 2 would be energy, phase 3 would be a body cue, can be very small, and a phase 4 is a touch, but the touch is never means move. The touch just means, did you hear me, that I'm actually talking with you? You know, to get the horse's attention, and then I would just use thought and energy again, not a touch or anything like that to ask for the movement. And through this, of course, it starts off with, we must absolutely listen to our horses. What are they saying? You know, if it's a horse you don't know, I'm going to approach the horse, communicating to the horse from my inside, from my spirit, who I am. How? I probably basically say to the horse inside, hey, it's going to be really fun today. You don't have to worry about anything. I promise it's easy. And if you're confused or you're not sure, I'll explain it. And then I listen to who the horse is. You know, if I don't know him, what does he want to tell me? There's multitudes of things he might want to say, or he might not want to say anything. And if it's a horse I know, then it would be more the question of, how are you today? What's happening today? And we can, of course, perceive that first in our heart. And then we can also see that in our horse's body. And, you know, if we are not willing to listen to a horse of what he really feels and he really says, then that horse will never be in a happy relationship with us. It can't be. Just like we couldn't be, you know, even though, of course, it's a totally different form of life. The horse is not able to appreciate poetry or my great cooking. Well, it's not so good, but, you know, it can't, right? It lives on a different life form than we do, but the things that we share, there the horse has to feel understood, and he has to find a place of peace with us. We have to be the one that offers peace, love, and joy to the horse. safety and home. Always think of, the horse, when I meet him, I'm offering him to just come home, to just be with me. So it's this type of leadership. Follow me because I provide peace, joy, and love, and it's going to be super. It's going to be really fun. Not out of you have to. That's a totally different deal.
And I've heard some of your sessions, and again I mentioned Richard. He spoke so highly of you. I think you view the world in a similar way. It's really communicating with that intent first.
Yes, absolutely. I found watching the wild ones, I was not fortunate. I've made it my life's work to travel the world to watch wild horses in New Zealand and in Canada, throughout the whole United States. And we could go on where I've been for wild horses. It's been my quest. And so to watch them, I found the same as Ingela when she mentions I call it the first tier of the natural horsemanship. So you've got the Pat Pirellis, who we knew. I was with Monty Roberts, and you've got John Lyons Everedy, and it's really a dominance-based natural horsemanship style. So it's the first tier and the first level. And I find that the next generation is looking for something slightly different. But here's how I'm going to tie it in. When I watch the wild horses, you can either choose to see the dominant wild horses, and there's only one in approximately 10 that's a dominant stallion. The rest are passive stallions. And I believe that what happened is we saw the dominant one at first. Now, if you go and watch them and you see it through different glasses, you're going to start seeing the passive leadership style. And the passive is lovely. And it's like having a harem of girls, right? The guy is charming and you look at him and go, oh, I'd stick with you. You are strong, you're smart, you're aware. And for me, what I noticed, it's not about speed and it's not about strength, it's about awareness. The greatest form of leadership is awareness. And my wild horse, that Spanish Mustang, Excalibur's got a voice of his own. His father was a leader of leaders. And what that means is his father died in a battle with a mountain lion. There were two sections, so two herds were together. There was a dialogue between two herds. So they dialogue not just through body language, but through telepathy and other means. And they decided one stallion would stay behind and take care of the family and one would fight. The mountain lion, it happened to be Excalibur's father who lost his life in it. So when you start looking at that, both were passive leaders, but you will even have leaders between stallions. I've been fortunate to be part of number of largest rescues in the United States history with Mustangs. And when you start putting, let's say, 100 together, you'll have one that is a leader. One is a leader of leaders. And he doesn't get his reputation by fighting or being dominant. He gets it by being, simply being. And when we can teach people to learn how to be grounded in themselves, where they don't have to use the muscle and the fight or even be cunning, they just have to be smart and believe in themselves. That's the true form of leadership that I found that the Mustangs love and they want to be close to. That transforms to every other horse. That if you are true to yourself, and this is the authenticity that we're seeking, and that would be an alignment between the body, mind, and spirit. So whether the mind is in the present time, but the mind is also honest. The energy that you carry is an honest, authentic energy. Your body language is reflective with that. That's the authenticity of the horse. Not every horse can do that either. You're going to have the flighty one trying to stay. You're going to have the dominant trying to hold back. You're going to have somebody else trying to be who he isn't. So they fall in the same trap as we do, that anything you can experience as a human being, I found the horses experience too. Any single thing. Fear, concern, worry, they have it all. So if we could be the leader by showing through our authentic self that when you're with me, I am grounded. When you're with me, I'm in the present time. When you're with me, I will guarantee it that I will earn your respect. And that's the truth, is to earn it. Instead of walking in going, I'm the leader, which you have in many military and first responders situations, that you will listen to me, you will call me sir. You can't adopt that with horses. You have to earn it. And what you're showing is you're proving, I'm proving I'm consistent. I'm proving I'm aware. I'm proving that I know who I am. And I'm proving to you that no matter what, I will never hurt you. And that's the honesty that comes in with the horsemanship, which is the leadership from leading from behind. You know, the stallion leads at a 45-degree angle from behind. He drives the herd forward. He is authentic. He is grounded. He knows who he is, and he doesn't have to be dominant because he knows who he is. It's the ones that, honestly, this is what I found in life. The ones that don't know who they are, they're the ones that have to muscle on down. The ones that know who they are, they're going to lead authentically.
That's so powerful. And I think I'm going to, Karen, you want to say something?
I'd love to speak to that just for a second,
Sure.
You know, with this leadership, because this is the biggest, you know, conversation. There's this, you know, to really zoom out to what's going on here. I wrote a blog once called The Assumption of Obligingness. And I think traditionally with horses, there's this underlying assumption that they're supposed to do what we say to do. And maybe because we use them for transportation and things. And I realized that, you know, we've got to step back and go, this is just amazing that they let us play with them at all. And to come at everything from that perspective is not to assume that they should allow us to do anything. And I'm sure Anna, with her, you know, watching wild horses, is very aware of that. But we, with our domesticated horses, you know, it's easy to forget that. So I try to every day go out with my horses, even the ones I know very well, and just be like, this is amazing that that they allow me. And it's always that, you know, it's them giving permission. I have to earn that. Because I think the natural part for me, you know, I call what I do dressage naturally. What's the naturally part? It is this part of being in the moment and being your authentic self. And when I teach it, so much of it comes down to helping the humans get rid of the self-judgment, the doubt, get rid of their mind being in a million places, and like just be here so that when you are in this relationship communication with your horse, you know what's going on. I think people know if they stop thinking, am I doing it right? Is this correct?
Yeah.
You know, coming from the dressage world, I get a lot of people are very concerned about being correct. And the more I just say, feel it. You sent this energy. How did the horse respond? Tell me quickly without overthinking it. And then people really feel, and they really know what their relationship is like with the horse. So for me, that's more and more the natural part. You know, I love we're bringing up what is natural horsemanship. I don't know. There's such a range. For me, the natural part is the being and the feeling, and to help people be in harmony with themselves. That's by, you know, getting rid of the judgment and getting rid of the distractions and really being here. It's helping, for me, horses find harmony with themselves through the biomechanics and the way I work with the horse to find the biomechanics, to get the harmony within their bodies. And then to put these, and to, you know, as you build trust and have the horses feel safe, there's harmony with them, you know, emotionally, with their environment and with me. And so when you get rid of all the things that are causing disharmonies, you're left with these two beings sharing this space. And from there, like, then stuff just works easier. And, you know, it really is about relationship. And when I watch my herd, it's not, there is not this hierarchy that's written in stone. So horse A can push horse B can push horse C, and horse C can push horse A.
Sure.
You know, so what, for me, it's, you know, we can make these observations, who's the lookout, who's the leader. But for me, I just, you know, because I have a very small artificial herd, but it's the relationship. So how is this horse with this other horse? How am I with this horse? How am I with this other horse? And that to me is what lights me up every day and keeps me coming back to the barn, because it's not what can I get this horse to do, but how do I get in relationship with this horse where we understand each other, we trust each other, we can communicate, and then, like, let's see what kind of cool stuff that I can motivate the horse to feel like he's signing up for it too and going, this is cool, I'll do this with you. But to really see each horse as that individual character, and to let his character mingle with my character when I'm here in this moment, I feel like every problem, 90% of any challenge someone's having comes down to that. And then from that place, techniques about where to put your body for a shoulder in, or what gymnastic exercise you need to do, is, literally the icing on the cake. But I love how Anna was talking about this. It really is about being in this moment, and Ingela too. It's just like, here we are together.
That's so good, Karen, because the truth is that horses don't really care about us training them. It is not on top of their priority list at all, right? So, the human goes, oh, I have 2 hours. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to work on my piaffe, Instead of, we go out and the horse is like there in the herd. He's happy. Along comes the human and brings all these expectations and things to do that don't even make any sense to the horse without relationship. So it is really the absolute key point, just exactly what you said, Karen. I loved it because the horse just cares about us being with him, fully present, fully in the moment, actually without expectations, but this excitement of what can develop through that. So when I approach a horse, I just make sure I'm totally grounded, authentic, at peace, think about beautiful things in the moment, and I join myself with the horse and we're just being together. And then out of that, we can see, well, what can we do together? What's fun, right? So this is super important that we actually get into this place before we even approach the horse, that we don't go, oh, my time and, whatever is coming up, and we focus on a specific thing. Not that it's good to have a plan, right? I'm not meaning that. I mean, we need to approach the horse with what he cares about, which is he just wants to be with us. Or better, he wants us to be with him, right? So if we're going to be there, then he would like us to be present. It's the same, like if we're in a conversation, Karen, I would like you to be present, right? I don't want you to be on your phone and talk to 10 other people while I want to have a conversation with you. So especially in today's society, we're so used to talk to 10, 15 people at the same time and look at their phone every 10 seconds. This is not working for the horses.
Sure.
We need to approach him and just be with the horse, totally grounded, but offering ourselves who we are, as the guide, as the friend, as the lead. So he feels safe, because no horse follows a passive horse, because they can't trust. That horse doesn't take that role of actually taking responsibility. So yeah, super good.
This is such an interesting conversation, and like my brain is just bursting with so many questions and to lead this conversation in a certain way. But I have to sort of, because you guys are so amazing, but there's someone else who's been amazing, who's been going in and out of this conversation because of technical challenges. I have to pull him in because he's got such a cool background. And before Juan, I bring you into this conversation, one of our hosts on Cavago is the Guada de la Cartuja, arguably the birthplace of the Andalusian horse. And they were on the last Cavago Social. And they said, you have to speak to Juan. And so I think the next day or so, I got this phone call from Juan. And he started his horsemanship journey in Spain and then moved to the US. So Juan, give us a little bit about your background. Welcome to the conversation. I know you've had some challenges, but we do want to hear from you.
Thank you, and I'm sorry I was going on and off, but finally I managed to do it with the phone. Well, my background is like many other kids. I just wanted to go and ride, and that was my passion. It was maybe for just playing cowboys and Indians. So I started riding when I was 5, and I started more like in the Spanish tradition. And for me, it was just a game, just go and have fun. There was no much of a time for teaching and lessons. It was just exploring, and the most important thing is trying to survive the experience every day and have fun. Don't fall off too much. And then little by little, of course, sometimes you get in trouble. You try to figure out how to deal with that situation. You sometimes then you can find some people that can help you a little bit, people that probably they were better than others. and you try to take some advice, you put it in practice. If it works for you, you keep doing it. If it doesn't work, you don't do it again. Or maybe you think twice, maybe you thought you understand what they said, and you were wrong in the way you applied that. And that's mostly what I've been doing since then. I always was very curious about trying to understand the horse, what he's doing, what he feels, why he's doing what he's doing at that time. And I started traveling to the US in 1992. My English was 0 at that time. Now it's probably
I think we lost him.
Oh,
Okay.
no.
Can you guys hear him? Because he was just getting into
No,
it.
it's frozen a little bit there after
Frozen.
1992.
Yeah, we lost him since 1992. He'll be back. He'll be back. I hope he's back because he's got such a cool story. All right, so let me switch tack a little bit. And when Juan comes back, we'll pull him into the conversation again because he frequently goes back to Iguada de la Cartuja to teach these classical riders aspects of natural horsemanship, which is amazing. And that links to one of the questions the audience was asking about horsemanship being infused in other modalities. And I'd like to hear your thoughts. Oh, Juan, you're back.
yes, I'm back.
Cool. So tell us from
what I was trying to
1992.
do is I was just trying to watch people, what they were doing. If I liked that, I was trying to copy it. If I didn't like it, I tried not to do it. And then I got the opportunity to meet with really good people. One of them, my friend Alfonso Aguilar. I met him many, many years ago. And I got the opportunity to see other people like Mike Cavill and Chris Cox, Greg Cameron. And I've been working with Martin Black for a few years. I met him at the Horseman Reunion, and he really influenced me a lot. And I really tried to understand what means the self-preservation for the horse and how we can use it as a tool when we try to communicate. I think it's not good to try to destroy completely that self-preservation. What is important is to understand how to deal with that. If we want to keep a horse that is sensitive and he responds, somehow we need to find a balance to deal with that self-preservation, not do too much to sensitize, but then later we want a horse that is responsive, we have to sensitize him again. The problem that we have is that many times we don't know how to deal with a sensitive horse, and we try to bring that horse to our level so we can deal with him instead of trying to reach that level where we can deal with that horse. So I'm always working on that place, trying to understand him more and respect a little bit his thoughts.
So,
and that, I think the horse can feel if you allow him to make some decisions and you take the risk, that gives them confidence.
Well, that's really cool. I want to take that little sliver that you just said, and I wanted to ask Karen this question. I remember years ago reading a blog that you wrote. You mentioned another blog, but Ancora Amparo. Do you remember that one? And that was all about learning spaces, and I took that away, and I still quote it. Tell me a little bit more about that, and can you relate it to a couple of the stories? Because I know you've had Ovation, who's a bit more of a challenging horse, maybe not as you thought, as talented as perhaps Monty. Can you link it to some of your horses and their personalities, if you will, and their capabilities?
Sure. I'm actually, gosh, I wrote the blog called Encore Amparo a long time ago, so I can't remember what the exact point. Maybe you have to remind me. But the phrase Encore Amparo is something that supposedly Michelangelo said after completing the Sistine Chapel, and it means I'm still learning. So this idea that I'm still learning, and that to approach everything with this beginner's mind of I don't know everything. I think humbleness is a very important quality in a horseman, because as soon as a trainer thinks this is the way it's got to go, well, some horses will fit in that program, and then other horses won't, and then they'll be called the difficult, challenging, problem horses. When in reality, there's nothing wrong with the horse, just your system is too narrow. So my system is really the system of try to figure out what each horse needs to be the best that they can be. A little bit like Juan was saying, like rise to the horse, not trying to squash the horse into whatever happens to be your system. So that's why, each horse is so different. And, every horse, if we're lucky, we have a horse that easily fits into what we naturally do, and those are called the easy horses. But all horses are the same. We just have to learn. So when you have a horse that's a little different, then you've got to be creative. And I think curiosity, creativity, and experimentation are really important. And the tricky part as a trainer is to be curious and experiment, whatever the word is, without being random or confusing. But Ovation just was interesting to motivate. He just sort of was like, I don't know what to do or where to go. And but he was a clown. He's a real clown, like loves to pick things up in his mouth and, throw them around and be in the center of attention. So I would use that and say, okay, how can I use things that he does like and praise him for that, let him know like, hey, I like when you try to do stuff, even if it's stuff that may be deemed in other barns, naughty or wrong. So, anything, if it was challenging for me to get him to want to sign up to do dressage, then I would see, what does he want to do? And let me join him in that. And if I can follow him, now we're together. And from this place, now maybe I can, swerve over to things that I want to do, and have him and still use the same kind of feeling of harmony and praise and paying him back with things he loves at the right time, to gradually have him open to my ideas. And then when I teach dressage, the first point of dressage is to help them find a place where it's easier for them to carry a human on their back. So the very first goal of dressage is to have the horse go, oh, that feels better. I can move much better this way. So the goal is that they're thanking me because I'm playing around with their posture until they tell me they feel better. So now he's like, whoa, that's weird, but it feels better. You've got some good ideas, Mom. And then now we have more harmony and more options of what we can do. But it's kind of funny to think about, I'm training this horse to do dressage. That would be nice. That's my goal. It doesn't have to go there, but that's what I'm aiming towards. And using what I call silly horse tricks, like teaching him to pick up things with his mouth or just put his foot in a bucket. And to me, that was just as equal a part of the dressage journey, because it was experiences where together we are doing something he likes as a team. So I don't know if that was what I wrote about in the blog those years ago, but am I on track with you? Or you can remind me?
Yeah, well, actually, absolutely. And I remember Ingela often used to say that, Taz, the horse should like your ideas better than his own. That's really the space you want to get into it. And that always stuck with me. And I like to apply that in other environments as well. And I think it's such a good life lesson, let alone a lesson in horsemanship. We're getting a few questions come in, and I know Ingela has addressed one of them. Maybe what we should do is we have about 5 to 7 minutes on this panel, and I had so many questions. I prepared thoroughly for it. Unfortunately, I won't be able to get to all of that. And I'm sure there's so many things you want to say, so don't hold back. But let's take this opportunity to at least answer or address this one question that I've seen come in from Linda King about horses that don't necessarily live in a herd, and practicalities come in the way. So what are the kind of things perhaps we can do to address this situation? Who wants to take a stab at it?
Yeah, I wrote something already, and you did too, Karen. But just to add something to it, we have to deal with whatever our situation is and make the best out of it. Of course, we would like every horse on the planet to live 24/7 in a natural herd, or as natural as possible, which we're already always mingling, because we put these few horses over here, these few horses over here. We choose who goes where and with whom. But at least they have an ability to form their herd and socialize. Now, if we do not have the ability to, we don't have the facility or the space, lots of places in India, it's impossible. And horses live in the city, and there's 3 by 5 meters max next to the marquee, but on top of it is the only space we have. So whatever the environment is, we need to make the best out of it. So that means giving the horse time to touch, smell, groom, interact with another horse in freedom, without us interfering, leaving them so they can do that. And we can adapt things in the stables, like taking the walls down to half, so they have full contact over the walls, because I saw horses were stabled all day long. Well, or combining the stables, take all the walls out and have 4 horses in that space, like a type of little barn. There's things we can do, but the most important is that we do give our horses the opportunity to be a horse, really to be a horse and interact with other horses without human influence. It's important.
Sure.
Yeah. And I really liked also what you were saying, Karen, just before we took that question. And, we would like the horses to be happy in what they do. So once they figure out, wow, this feels better, with Karen's help, I'm feeling better, they start to really like it. And it's actually something I super honor about you, Karen, because you do come from a traditional dressage background, and you were trained in it, but you have so incorporated it to the degree where you're able to have a happy athlete, And one part of that is not just they live in a herd, it is all the little things you do of interaction that is not specifically dressage. Normally, traditionally, it's known as cross training. So we take horses for a trail ride, we do some jumping to give them other things to do. So it's not all arena stable, and just dressage exercises. But in that, one of the great things is to do liberty, which I know you do that, Karen, because the horse has an opportunity to express itself. And that is so important. Those of you who know me, I teach about the lead. So it's a little different view than you have, Anna, even though I also am positioned at 45-degree angle behind the horse, but I'm still the lead in saying, follow my idea. So I work with space. I would open the space on the left to invite the horse in. I open and close spaces that I, as a lead, offer, because leads share space, dominant and passive either give up space or take space. So I would invite the horse into a certain space, and you talked a little bit about that too, Karen, to make room for him and say, you're invited over here and I'm already over here. You don't have to come. You can choose to be over here with me, and it's fun and it's going to be different and interesting, or you can go there. It's okay with me too. You choose. I let the horse choose completely freely. Would he like to be with me and do something or not? And once he wants to be with you, once he wants to come, he wants to hang out with you, you're the one who makes him feel better. even in his body, about his whole life, his environment, what you do together, well, he gets more and more interested in doing. And then when you do a dressage competition, it's just Karen and the horse displaying the beautiful relationship they have, plus a few things they can do as in movements. That's how I see it. You know, we should be able to see the beauty that comes from the relationship. It's like a romance, like a type of love relationship between the horse and the person. Yes. And when you're watching someone that has it, you stand there and you go, wow, I love this, you know, that's what I want. And we all know that place, what it feels like when we lose that. That's not fun, you know? Absolutely. So yeah.
Guys,
I was just going to add that, you know, the element of giving the horse freedom, which actually for the person who asked about the stable, the herd, there is other ways you can give the horse freedom. If you don't even have another horse, then let him be free in the herd of the two of you. Movement has to feel good to the horse. Sure. He needs to enjoy movement. Like so many horses, they don't enjoy movement with a human because it feels bad. The human says, go. And then the horse goes, and then the human pulls on the bit and says, no, not so fast. And the horse says, okay, whatever you're saying, my answer to what you're saying is movement with humans does not feel good. So I don't like to move, and I don't want to express myself. So we have to work on this, that we don't micromanage them and control them for every little piece, you know. I say, have this great idea, follow me. And then I say, hey, how about you express yourself? Show me how you feel. And they do. Then they can experience the freedom and get praise. I'm saying praise, okay? I hope you understand what I mean. They get a reward and a feeling good, an emotional release from me that I say, I love it when you express yourself. I want you to be 100% free. Because that's where the horse becomes the most beautiful and the most powerful. When he is free internally, you know, not when... It's not being without lines. There's nothing to do with it. You can completely control a horse with no lines on him, okay? It's giving him the freedom to be himself, express himself, and partake in the relationship or not. And we got to be okay with it.
All right. Guys, you know what? I'm so sad about this that we've actually run out of time. And I knew this had to be a 2-hour session. So we will have to do this again. I have 2 requests from you. Okay. The first one is you need to pick up your mobile phone and take a selfie. Okay, because I did this last time. It was a lot of fun. All right. So here's me doing the selfie.
Oh, wait.
All right.
We have to do it one after the other. No?
Okay.
I'm just going to do it in the screen.
Actually, if you guys use Instagram, right, we actually have, and we created an Insta filter as well, just for this. And it was, I was at the Cavago Social. You can find it on your Instagram. It gives you a horse on your cheek. Okay. And
you have to go one after the other, so not everybody's doing the selfie pose.
I can't even really see the details.
But anyway, there's this filter, so you can try it out. It's a lot of fun. So you can do that. So that'd be one request. And then you can post it if you like. And then I have this other thing and this is just me being me, right? I want to tell the world that you know, COVID's been hard on everyone. And we're horse people, we're a horse community. We all love horses, and we need to tell the world that we're fine, we're good. So what I'm going to try and do, and I request this, is that we make a selfie later on, video, that says, this is me, Tausif, this is my horse, and we're having a party. That's all.
And we're what?
Having a party. Right. So
okay, I'm not with my horse, Taz. We're in lockdown.
Maybe a picture of your horse.
Okay, good.
The idea being we're going to communicate back to the horse world and say we're good, because that's what Cavago, for me, that's what Cavago is. It's a celebration of the horse world, for the horse world, by the horse world. And with that, may the horse be with you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you very much to all the viewers. Thank you, Karen, Taz, Anna, and Juan.
That was a lot of fun. Thank you.
Thank you. Lovely to be here.